dude. Thanks for taking the time to jump on and have a chat with me.
Well, thanks a lot for the invitation.
Pleasure, mate.
Looking
What's
forward
up?
to chatting.
Absolutely. Feel free to just to provide people with a bit of context.
Hmm.
Just take us through you know,
All right.
business is all
So
about. Sorry.
perfect. All right. So my name is Frederic. I'm a designer from Quebec, Canada. I've been working on my own business, which is called Atelier Carcajou. So short for I would say Wolverine Workshop in English. So it's been my little design studio project I've been working on for about 10 years almost. And it's been a bit on the back burner since I started another business in 2017, which is called Moss, and we design, market, and distribute our own hardware outdoor products. So this has put AC's my design studio on the back burner, and in the past year I've tried to. Well, I figured that since Moss was doing pretty well, and that we're trying to raise a lot of capital right now. So who knows if that maybe will lead to an exit or something. But that I would like to work a lot more on my design studio because that's something I really love to do. And yeah, I started the program now we're in March, so I started it in late November 2024, I think. So it's been about 4 months now.
Yeah, amazing. So what was the kind of the 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 triggering thought that got you into okay, like when did you realize you wanted to turn your design skills into a business?
Um, I think it's been something that was on my mind for quite a while, because the design studio never really took off. Well, actually, it was starting to take off at first, like way back in 2017. Then the other project took the main stage. And in the past year, I was struggling quite a lot to gain proper momentum as I used to way back. And I realized part of it through your content actually. It's been like pretty enlightening actually to realize that, I'm not selling design, I'm selling a transformation. That's something you say a lot in the program, and yeah, it's been like an epiphany of sort, if I may say so. And yeah, that's when I realized I wanted to go in the program, and also that it was maybe a little bit of a my thought process was that it's time to double down or to quit, sort of. It's the kind of thing that people ask you a lot that when you're an entrepreneur is like, why don't you just find a job? Why don't you just find a job somewhere? And that's something that's I'm having a hard time because when I started my career as a designer, I worked in another business where they would send me in other, well, bigger businesses, in partition, I think we say. So I would do, for example, CAD modeling. I would do a lot of drawing, and I would enjoy the program. Well, the project, I mean, but I would really hate the 9 to 5 and having someone over my shoulder looking at what I was doing. And yeah, so having my own business kind of gave me that liberty, but at the same time, that's the classic thing with people who own their own business, that you become sort of a slave of your project or of your clients. You think that you're gonna have so much free time, but on the contrary, you spend so much and you never stop working actually. So that's one thing. Also, one also the reason why I came back to the program is that I want to have a bit of structure, find more time for myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So the 9 to 5 just wasn't gonna fuel you with that kind of lifestyle, I suppose. That.
Yeah,
Would you say that's
probably.
yeah, the underlying motivator? Because it's always funny to hear it's sometimes you can end up with a role that's too comfortable in a 9 to 5, and
Hmm.
it's nearly the worst thing that can happen is because there's just not enough of a reason to jump ship. But like how long was it experiencing that in a 9 to 5 and going from business to business and project to project? Was it before you were like, all right, I can see that I have to do my own thing? Like how long did it take to manifest that affordable thing?
Hmm. I think in a way it was when I started, it was that I could not find a job that was fulfilling enough, maybe, or it was also pretty hard time to start in design because it was in 2012, and we were still in the aftermath of the financial crisis of 2008. So there were not a lot of design businesses and design jobs in my area. So since I could not really find my dream job, I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna create my own job. And it's been working all right, I guess. I've had a lot of fun projects, a lot of creativity involved in my work. But as you get more experience, you realize that you have to be more a businessman than a designer, and in many ways. And that's something I'm really working right now on, and that's been working pretty well, I think. With the program, especially the whole mindset shift has been really helpful. And one thing also regarding my work and like the 9 to 5 and the switch. I think it's related as well to the goal striving mechanism that we have inside ourselves. And actually, the Psycho Cybernetic book has been like pretty enlightening in that regard and putting words on those things that you think you have in your mind. And like one sentence stuck with me. I have it right here. Is that the creative guidance mechanism within you is a goal striving mechanism, and the first requisite for using it is to have a clear cut goal or target to shoot for. And how so that's basically like the interrelation of how creativity and having a goal all work together. And it's important to have clear cut goal. And yeah, as we talked maybe on other calls, is that when you have hard decisions to make, if you have a clear cut goal, it becomes much easier to like weigh the pros and cons of every situation and every decision you have to make. So
What?
starting my business kind of made sense in that, like in hindsight.
Yeah. So do you feel like kind of after you've been subject to that book that your definition of what you want to move towards got like way sharper and more detailed?
I think so, and also the importance of having it clear in mind. You know, it reminded me of my dad actually. When I was like 23, I think, or something, I was having dinner with him, and he would write this like timeline on a paper, and he would say like, okay, here's like you're 20 something now. Here's the line at 30. Here's the line at 40, at 50. What is your goal at 30? What is your goal at 40, at 50, and so on. And at the time, it felt like kind of a silly thing to do. Like, all right, Dad. Let's say I want to have kids. I want to have a house and whatever. But in hindsight, it made so much sense to like, having goals and just working towards them. And I realized that, well, in part with the book and in part also with all the mindset shifts and starting the program, is that every time I would like go in circles in my life, that my business would not be growing as much as I would like to and stuff like that, is that I would just be kind of aimless actually. And, like get comfortable in a situation and not having a goal to like what's next, what's the next target to shoot for and so on.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, it's it kind of all seems hocus pocus until you start doing it and you start to realize like we really are just computers that are optimizing towards something. You gotta load the very specific problem that you want to solve in there. And if you don't, you kind of end up solving other people's problems, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, definitely.
that's working 9 to 5 is there's nothing wrong with working 9 to 5, but you are contributing to solving the owner of the business's problem.
Yeah.
Instead of basically your, if that makes sense. But so like structurally, like what were the things that you were struggling with or you knew you could improve in um that that led you to come into the program? Like what were the areas that you wanted to work
Hmm. There's probably a lot on lead generation definitely, and having proper structure as well. They all before the program I used to, well, I would do a little budget, but as long as the bank account was sort of all right, I would think, yeah, well, steady as she goes, and it's all good. But having like using your finance template, for example, and really seeing, okay, here's my overhead, here are the sales I'm doing, here's the revenue I'm doing, and seeing the relation in between the two of them, and slowly, like, crossing the two lines of the expenses and of the revenue feels pretty good. Having it like clearly sit in a in an Excel file, and I actually do enjoy a lot spending time on Excel now, and yeah, reducing costs, stuff like that, and even the tracking sheet. I do enjoy it now. At first, it was kind of a hurdle, but yeah, it feels pretty good now to start the day with that, and ticking all the boxes. It just gives a lot of structure, I think, a lot of clarity as well.
Do you? Yeah, the tracking sheet's a funny one because it's like not many people, and I definitely didn't use a tracking sheet for for many years. But like, do you feel like there's like a level of uncertainty that disappears the minute you have numbers and you've got like clear information?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure, definitely. It's well, it just becomes clearer. It makes it concrete with numbers. It's not just like how do you feel about your situation. It's like, am I losing money or not right now? Literally. And with the tracking sheet, did I do what I had to? Did I try to generate lead today? Did I contact well, did I contact the people that were on my CRM and stuff like that? So it just gives you kind of a little homeworks to do. It's funny because it reminds me that way back in school, I used to be a pretty good student, I guess, when I was younger, and when you had real clear structure in your day. So it's like, okay, so at the end of the school at 3 p.m. sort of, you have 1 hour to do your homework. And when it was super structured like that, I used to be a pretty good student. But as I got older, and the school removes structure from you, and school removes constraints, and I would be more and more on my own. I would still be an okay student, but some homework would not get done, and I would not do so well in some exams. For example, like I was hopeless in maths, for example. But I used to be pretty good when I had more structure. So I think there's a lot of that in that sense. I'm definitely, yeah, structure helps me a lot.
Got it. What 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 made you finally decide to to join the program? Is there like a turning point or a particular moment that you remember that was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this?
Hmm. Um, I think in well, this summer actually, I did a road trip with my wife, and we went all across North America from east to west and back, and I had a lot of time on the road. And I think it was at that time that I found out about Profitable Designer, and I spent quite a good deal of time driving and thinking in my head, and yeah, I realized, well, I was just thinking, okay, what's my next project? What clients could I try to get in front of? What prospects? Yeah, well, actually, what prospect can I work on and everything? And I realized that, I didn't have that much idea of how to do that properly, or how to change the recipe that I've had been doing for the past like 2, 3 years. And I was thinking, it hasn't been working as well as I wish it had. So why not try something else? Why not double down and invest in the program and see where it takes me? And yeah, I think that was probably like the thought process that I was in. If something's not working right now, don't stick to it. Change the recipe.
Mm, yeah, got it. Um, so what what would you say has been like the biggest mindset shift that you've had, and from what you've seen in the program?
Understanding that I'm not selling design. That's one thing, definitely. Now in my first meeting with my clients, I never talk about design, or I try not to. Even if the client starts asking questions like, "Okay, but do you think we could build this, or like I need this function on the product and so on?" And yeah, I don't shut them off, but I try to stay to like the overall goal, the business goals, and also to understand that I'm selling a transformation. It's been really something that's been working pretty well actually. Like now in all my the first call with the clients is I've all well with the prospects have all been going pretty well because of that. And I always manage to have at least a second or a third call with those prospects. So I think it's been working all right.
Yeah, listen. What so like other than potentially people talking about design when maybe there's a better conversation to be having, like, well, based on what you've seen in the training program, like what do you feel like are some of the biggest mistakes that design businesses make?
Hmm. Well, just billing hourly rate. That's one thing for sure. And not realizing that you're part of a much bigger picture than you think. Um, and clients and designers alike, I think really need to have a big mindset shift in this regard. That like coming back to like you're not just selling design, understanding that you're selling, well, you're providing the transformation. So you're going to be able to, for example, as an industrial designer, I'm going to be able to help my client to reach a new market, for example, or to better sell to a certain niche, or to get to those financial goals that they have. Like they want to, for example, eventually they want an exit, but before having this exit, they need to like have a better proposition, for a better, be more profitable in order to sell to an investor and stuff like that. So I'm not just helping them to have a like a beautiful product that's going to be ergonomic and better made. I'm going to help them be a better business.
Nice. Yeah, good answer. What like what what were some of the first things that you implemented and like what what have the results or the outcomes been that have been the most profound? Like what are the changes that you feel like have caused the biggest kind of effect since you've been going?
Hmm. I think probably the offer template, like implementing the offer template has been very helpful. I used to have like this fancy document with a nice picture and nice font and everything. I mean, I still use it from time to time, like, but just what I do now is that I use the offer template from the Profitable Design program, and I just change the font maybe, or I use it straight away. And that's definitely something that I still have to work on though. Like a lot of
Mm.
people, I mean, it takes time to detach yourself from the fancy looking stuff. But yeah, the offer template, it's been really a big help for me. Also, I would say the CRM as well, the pipeline CRM. Having I've been using Notion for a few years now, and just having like this template that I could just plug into Notion and link with all other my other projects has been really helpful with that. And it just helps you visualize everything at the same time. Like how many leads do I have working on right now? How many people, how many calls have I booked? How many of them did work? How many of them did not work? And it helps you like seeing, okay, am I booking, like, am I signing 20% of the people I have a book with, I book a call with, or am I signing 10% of them? And you realize it's just a numbers games in the end. So, for example, just doing outreach on LinkedIn, yeah, if you manage to start conversation, well, if you people accept your connection, like 10% of them accept your connection, and then like 10% of them accept to like start a conversation with you. So how many of them, well, how many does it take before you get a proper sales call, for example? And so it's all been pretty helpful stuff, like the whole numbers game mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it can be like a pretty daunting idea to like to enter in. And it takes a little while to get used to, but then once you kind of see how everything kind of falls in place and how it's related, it's actually quite
Hmm.
easy. I feel it just you just gotta change the habit ever so slowly.
Yeah. Well, it's not hard. That's the thing. It is not hard to do all those things. It's all simple stuff in the end. You just gotta be efficient about it and be like clear about it in the way. And just implement it in your routine, and that's it. It's not that simple. It's not that hard. I mean, that's the thing.
Got it. What like take us through like in the last 4 months, what's been like biggest obstacle, like the hardest thing that you've had to face, and like how have you overcome it, or how have you dealt with it?
Hmm. I think it's also related with generating leads. So it's been the first thing that got me into the program. It is still something that I'm working on because it's only been 4 months that I'm in the program, but I still managed to like in January I managed to accomplish my monthly goal for the first time. So I had like a 20K objective and I did like 37K in sales in January. So it's been really
Amazing.
cool. So I was really happy with that. And part of it was the mindset shift with Profitable Designer of understanding your real value. So instead, for example, of say I would like to have route numbers, instead of billing estimating my time when my hourly rate at 100, I would estimate it at $150 an hour instead. Just because if I don't do that, I don't have any I don't make enough profit to like invest in marketing. That's something I never realized that I had to do. How important it is to invest in marketing. And when I speak to other people in the program, they're like, oh yeah, I'm spending like $2,000 a week in ads, for example, and I as well. I really have to generate a lot more profit if I want to do that. And understanding that um, the pipeline, like you've got to have a lot of work ahead of you in your pipeline in order to make it work. Because even though I managed to have like a pretty good month of January in sales, all that money is not gonna like dump in my bank account right away. It's on a project on the long term, so it's like a 2,000 here, 10,000 there, and so on. So, and you've got to bring in so much work, and that's one thing that's been really helpful for me in the program as well, is realizing like how much you have to be selling in order to be really profitable. It's yeah, it's really a business in the end, and I quite like it.
Yeah, the
It's fun.
yeah, it that's when you know somebody's getting into the right zone, is that they do find it as fun. But like, do you find it's really like the the push towards just realizing that business development is like it's the major thing. Um, so take us through like what the next goal is. Like what what's the next step for you that you're building towards?
Hmm. Well, I think my goal for at the end of the year was that in 12 months time. So since I started the program, so let's say in November/December 2025, I want to have my first 50K month. So I think it's doable. At this rate, I think it's possible. And actually, the really big step right now for me, the real true next step is to have like a consistency in the revenue every month. To be able to say that I will consistently make at least 20 or 30K a month, and hopefully 50K at the end of the year. But yeah, I think that's the real big next step. And for that, I need to like really step up in sales. That's what I realized. I don't need to be a better designer. I'm good enough. I just need to be really much better at business development. That's the thing.
What so so what has to change for you to get to 50K a month? What are
Hmm.
the shifts?
Like having well, the finding the way to find better prospects, getting
Mm.
in front of better prospects, definitely. Because I mean, it's okay to have like 3K, 5K projects. It pays the bills. But in order to really grow, you have to find like 100K projects if possible. Stuff like that, like 50, 60, 100K projects. And I haven't had that yet, but that's really something that I'm looking forward to. And like, I want to do that, definitely. And I think it's definitely possible. Like I just said, and that's one of the first thing that you said actually, when I came in the program, is that, you guys are all good enough. Like it sounds kind of corny, but you are enough. You're good enough as a designer. Now you have to grow your business. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been like um heartwarming in a way, of course, to hear that, I guess. And yeah, but I don't know if I mean, I'm rambling a lot, and but I hope that
No,
makes sense.
that's good. What what I suppose what's what's the long term gameplay like how do you like what's the where do you want the business to be in like 5 years from now? Like what do you want to be doing?
In 5 years, well, on monetary standpoint, I like to have like 2 million in contracts a year, if that's possible. I hope so. I'd like to have like a small team, so maybe I don't know, 2, 3 employees, so a small agile team of 2, 3 people. Um, so that's one thing I would like to have in 5 years, and to remove myself as much as possible from the design process. So mostly do sales and just like project direction, and that's it.
Yeah,
Just have my little input and be act more like a as a design mentor than as a proper designer, if that makes sense.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I've always thought about it. Is like you still have control of creative output and people still get you. It's
Hmm.
just other people are building your DNA, if that makes sense. That's how I
Hmm.
thought of it. Um
Yeah, totally.
yeah, I mean there's nothing that says that 50K can't happen in the next 2 months. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah, for sure.
we have to have a conversation outside of uh, this around paydays because it sounds like you could definitely start to play around with like $1,000 a month in paydays, just to kind of add some fuel to the fire. But if you've already had like a 37K per month, we're not we're not talking a crazy extension to get to 50. You know what I mean? It's
No, exactly.
really just like tripping over potentially one project, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's yeah. Well, there's a. I hope to just that. I just hope that January was not just like a lucky strike or something. You know, do you talk a lot about how the freelance, like as a freelancer, you're always between like famine and feast. So I hope well, I'm trying actually to like move away from that and to have it more like a steady kind of thing. And that brings me to like another aspect actually that the program made me realize is that if you just build with hourly rate, you're never gonna make it actually, or you're gonna struggle all the time. And I was doing my little budget thing, and I realized that, okay, here's my expenses, like every month, like my overhead, and let's say I bill $100 an hour or whatever, like 150. And I realized, I mean, I've got to bill so many hours just to make it, so that it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense if you just bill hours. So you've got to bill by project as much as possible and
Yep.
sell the outcome, and that's it. Mm.
Can you imagine how many hours if you build hourly, how many hours to get to 2 million?
Like it's
It's
impossible. You just can't.
that's the thing. It's like the it can be really daunting to kind of move to project based and outcome based billing, but then all you've got to do is remember, like, if you want to get to 2 million is the annual like long term 5 year goal. Your only job is to deliver 10 or $20 million worth of market value, and then just capture 10% of that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yep.
So like that could be this like Joseph Offer that's in the program. Like
Hmm.
he he worked at BlackBerry and has exposure to like big hyperscale companies. For for him to kind of go help contribute towards $20 or $30 million in revenue might only be at one or two projects. You know what I mean? So for you, it's the question is always just how can I serve the market at a greater level, and then just trust that I'm going to get rewarded for some of that value creation. You know, that's the best way to think about it. It's kind of like these are I really do see like these podcasts of interview for somebody like yourself just sharing your experience. It's really like I really just think if I can continually like help people get to their first monthly revenue goals and continue falls, and I keep stacking those results, then somehow money just follows that. So like it's like how do you build a machine that delivers other people with value, and you just eventually like it finds its way back to you, if that makes sense. So yeah, like the key to it is just continually thinking bigger, and you know like you said at the end of the year 50K a month, but what's probably more realistic, which sounds crazy, is like June. It's like why is it going to take that much longer? You know what I mean? When it's only just like the twist of potentially one dial. And that's the cool thing is like when you do your own thing, you're able to create infinite leverage. Whereas in a 9 to 5 role or billing by the hour, you have to work harder to get rewarded, at the same rate, I suppose.
Mhm.
But that's the advice I'd give you, is just be like, well, what 50K in June, then what has to be true in order for that to happen? And it's like, well, what's your average project value in the moment? Figure that out, and then go, well, if 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 we bump the average project value up by 20%, that nearly actually gets us to it. And then we've got to run the same amount of sales balls as we did in January. But then let's also try to increase those by 20%. And then if we need to increase those by 20%, we need to increase the active conversations by 20%. And then it's just, okay, well, if I increase active conversations by 20% and we figure out how to charge 20% all the way there, no other changes. So then it's like, well, okay, let's just start obsessing over those two metrics. How do we shift those two metrics out of space of March, April, May, June? You know what I mean? Like, and then, like you were saying with goal setting, like if we don't get really clear about what the goal is, we can't do that deductive logic that allows us to come back. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be my advice to you, is like, yeah, but do it in June. Like the time constraint of going, okay, this has to be by June, forces like another layer of like thinking that you know what I mean? It like forces you to kind of squish in.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Um,
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it in June.
yeah,
All right.
good.
Challenge
Um,
accepted.
yeah, totally. Um, and then the worst that can happen is you miss, but you're like significantly closer to everything being set up to do it. You know what I mean? So like,
Mhm.
I think in your situation, like even starting with like $500 in ads a month might be a really good starting point. Uh, just just because obviously, I know your specific space so well. We've got the same skill set. Um, so that's definitely something to consider. But yeah, I think the other thing is it's the pricing that you're putting out there is only limited by what what you feel confident pricing. If you can just double down confidence, like you'll get another 20 or 40% increase and just easily justify how that's an investment. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, so there's so
And
many ways to go.
And one thing I realized that the higher I asked clients, the less they would argue. That's the weird thing as well, is that you just look like so much more professional the more you ask in a way. Well, as long as you have like the credential at the background or like some social proof, of course. But yeah, if I ask some clients, for example, I would test from time to times. When I started the program, actually, I would test with different prospects, like what was the price range that would make people blink, like, and what would they budge, and at what point would they just like don't even ask questions. And yeah, it's funny. Like the more you ask, the less they argue in a way. It's
Yeah.
pretty. Yeah, it's funny.
Well, it kind of everything's just relative to how well you can define the value of what it is they're trying to move towards. And
Hmm.
if that's clear, then the like a lot of people don't get this, but like you can come in under way too under, and then people are like, oh, well, I think this is a bigger problem than this designer's giving it credit. They're charging me 10 and I had 35 grams set aside to this because I understand how much time and attention is going to go into it. And then that designer gets basically ghosted and they're like, oh, I charged too much. It's like, no, you didn't respect the severity of the project because they've done this before. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Hmm.
And yeah, I made that mistake many times, not realizing how big the opportunity was. And, somebody coming in who's done a thought of commercialized products, in our space. And then they've
Hmm.
gone, this is going to take two people 3 months for time. And then I've come in and quoted, 20 grand. It's like, that's not going to get it done because we
Yeah, it's
understand.
double, three times that, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, mate, the, like, thank you for kind of sharing your experience of, some of the shifts in thinking. But, yeah, thanks for taking my time
Well,
to jump
thank you for
on.
inviting me. Much
Uh,
appreciated. Love to chat.
absolutely. Um, yeah, man, and that's basically great, dude. Like, yeah, I'm still figuring out a format, but I think, uh, yeah, it's fun to just kind of hear, what's like what you're getting out of things and where you're going. But I really would just bring that December goal to June. So why not? Like,
Yeah, sure. You're right.
I-
Hmm.
it's like, is it realistic to like, let's say you give yourself a marketing score out of 6, like, because things can improve, your messaging, like, how easily could we just get that prowess to an 8? Like,
Hmm.
that be worthy of a 20% increase? Yeah, probably would be. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And then you're
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's not that hard. I mean, it's like two 20K projects and a half in a month, which is not that much of a big deal, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think, well, with the new rollout of the upper level stuff, they'll be taking people through how to think about paydays. But like I would say, yeah, the risk to return ratio for you to just set aside $500 a month would be pretty catastrophic, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll definitely try that for sure. Well, I mean, thanks a lot for the pep talk as well, I guess,
Oh,
for the challenge.
it's really a pleasure. Thanks for sharing, and yeah, just feel free. Like, everybody that does one of these, I'm happy to jump back on the phone for like 15 minutes or half an hour in the next couple of weeks if there's something that you want to work on. So, yeah, feel
Thanks
free
a
to
lot.
do that.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Patrick. Very much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks for your time, and we'll try to get into soon.
All right, see you on call. See ya.
See you, mate.